Well, hello and welcome everybody to the FLATE's webinar series. Today's webinar is on recruiting strategies, best practices. And with us today is Michael Emigh, adjunct professor at Northwest Florida State College, and now the senior project manager for supply chain engineer at Target. Next slide, please. All right, so just real quick, for those of you that don't know about FLATE, FLATE is, I'm the executive director of FLATE. We also have with us today Teresa Potter and Daniele Orazo-Cole. And the fourth member of our team is Dr. Marilyn Barger. A lot of you may know Marilyn and Teresa, Marilyn and Daniele, who have been with the team for quite a while. Teresa is newer, and I'm the newest on the team, so really glad to be here with the team. So today we're going to let Michael in a couple of minutes go through a presentation on recruiting, but we want to hit a couple of give you a quick overview of FLATE. So one of the things that FLATE does is we work to drive Florida's world-class manufacturing, workforce education, and training, and we do that through curriculum reform and development, outreach and student recruitment, professional development, which we're doing now, and technician education and research. Next slide, please. So this is a sort of a map of the state, community, and state colleges that we work with. You can see we're all over the state. We also work with technical colleges and high schools across the state. Certainly the main focus for FLATE over the years has been with the state and community colleges, but like I said, we're expanding to more technical colleges and high schools. So some of the activities that FLATE does, we do a lot of outreach activities, working with schools, working with the regional manufacturing associations. We also convene the ET Forum, which is a gathering of all the colleges that have ET degrees around the state. The next meeting is coming up at the end of March. We also help with develop curriculum. We work with the schools to identify what areas may be new or added to the existing curriculum or new curriculum in general. And then we work with the schools to submit, to create and submit that curriculum. We also have the FLATE Manufacturing Educator Awards. Those just closed. We have some great nominations that we will process over the next couple of months and then provide that award at an upcoming conference. We also do some mentor programs. And one of the newest things that we have is the data dashboard. I don't know. So I don't know if we
can drop it in the chat.
Yeah, we'll drop it in the chat. So it's manufacturingmattersfl.org. Yeah, I meant to bring it up, but it's an exciting dashboard. I think it can be really helpful for those of you that really want to highlight what manufacturing is to parents, career counselors, teachers, and industry. Maybe we can take a look at that at another time. Next slide, please. So some upcoming webinars that we've got scheduled. February 27th, we've got, it's part of a 4-part series. Part 2 is cybersecurity manufacturing. Part 3 is on March 22nd for cybersecurity. And if you want to go back and see the first one, Teresa has the recording up at the same place you registered for this event. You can look at previous events and look at the recordings. March 24th, we've got robots for AI and Industry 4.0. April 18th, we got creating videos using classroom projects and student success stories. April 26th is how to increase student diversity in ET programs. And then May 10th is cybersecurity for manufacturing, the last one of those. And there's one more that we're still working on the final details on, but how to create dual enrollment in early college programs. Next slide, please. Okay, some other upcoming events are on March 9th, Mechatronics 101 for Educators, Hillsborough Community College in Brandon. And I think we still have some seats open. Teresa, do you know?
I believe there's 2 slots open.
Yes, so we have a couple of slots. And you can go to flate.org and you can sign up off of that webpage. On March 30th is the ET Forum, 30th and 31st, Daytona State College as well. If you go to FLATE.org, you can find the sign-up page there. There is some, on April 21st, there's Hispanic Robot Day at the College of Central Florida. And then June 12th through 16th, we're having the FLATE Summer Teaching Institute at St. Pete College. So you have an opportunity to learn about some really cool technologies. Travel is covered for that. And, you know, who doesn't want to spend a week down in St. Pete? So if you're interested, you can go to FLATE.org to find more information. All right, so a few of the websites that FLATE has, FLATE.org in the far left. That's got a lot of great resources. Made in Florida is a great resource to learn about industry careers. It's got information for industry career if you're looking at manufacturing as a career, students, educators, and it's got some great activities. And then the wiki has the majority of our activities, so you can kind of see a snapshot of some of those activities as well. Below that is the FLATE monthly newsletter. So that's a great resource that the team puts together and Teresa creates for us. And then the other item that I mentioned before is the FLATE dashboard, the Manufacturing Matters FL.org dashboard. Really great resources. Okay, before I hand it off, is there any questions about FLATE or anything that I talked about? All right, so this is our team here. So please reach out to us if you have any questions about FLATE or how we can help you be better at what you do, connecting with students, industry in your area. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Michael Emigh. Emigh, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And he's gonna talk to us about recruiting strategies, best practices. All right, Michael, it's all yours.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Emigh. I am a senior project manager for Target. I'm in the current role for about 4 months, but I'm also teaching still for Northwest Florida State College. Next slide. Today's agenda, we're going to cover a few things. The purpose. Why are we talking about recruiting? I want to know who you are, who's in the room, who's in the Zoom chat. We're going to go over some numbers, some numbers that I recently looked at, and this is that data-driven conversation that always happens when you look at numbers and how do you react. Okay, and then I want to know why you're recruiting, who you're recruiting, where you're recruiting, where you're going. Talk about a little bit of social media, some tips to be successful, some things that I've learned over the years. Servant leadership, that's a huge one for me. And not when you just recruit them, but how do you keep them? How do they stay in class and how they complete, right? We want to complete them, get them through their CCC or their AS or send them on to their bachelor's degrees or furthermore, right? So how do we do that? And then at the end, I want to give a little time for question and answers. During this presentation, I kind of wanted it to be interactive. I don't want it just be me talking, right? I have my experiences, you guys have your experiences, and everybody together, collaboratively, we can come up with some good solutions and some ideas. Next slide. Okay. So the purpose of this meeting is just to give some ideas, some things that you might not have thought about, right? Here recently, I've been watching Shark Tank. It's been like on my head, playing a lot. And I see these people coming in with these great ideas. I'm like, yeah, well, I thought of that too. But, I didn't think about it until I needed to think about it, right? I also want to re-energize some of your thoughts and then refocus some of your recruiting efforts. A little bit about me, and that we'll talk about that on the next slide. When I first took over as a director, our enrollment for engineering tech was really low. And in the first year, we increased enrollment by 15%. And by the second semester, we increased it by 23%. And while doing so, we increased CAPE and certifications, industry certifications by 75%. And that's just in, the spring and fall of last year. Next. All right, so a little bit about me. Like I said, I work for Target. I'm a project manager, a senior project manager. I work for engineering activation for the global supply chain and logistics department for Target. I work from home. I travel where I need to go, so set up a sort center. Everything that we teach, engineering tech, is what I do hands-on as much as I can in these sort center setting them up. So if you think of Amazon and getting packages to you within 24 to 48 hours, Target has perfected that. And that's what I do. In the past 4 months, I've spent 6 weeks in Chicago, a week in Philadelphia, a week in Minnesota, and 2 weeks in Denver. I'm currently located in Florida. I'm in the Panhandle, 10 minutes from Destin, and Destin is known for its fishing. It is called the world's luckiest fishing place. Beautiful beaches. So I'd like to ask everybody else where you're from and give me, what you do and what school and one thing your area is known for. And in no particular order, we could just, whoever wants to start.
I'll go ahead and start. My name is Marta Klinger, and I'm at St. John's River State College, and I just got my title recently. It's Workforce Outreach and Student Success Coordinator, so I haven't memorized it yet, but I'm a work in progress. I am trying to help build our engineering program, so I'm just trying to get tips on how to get those kids into engineering. It's only offered on our Orange Park campus. We have 3 campuses: Orange Park in Clay County, we're in St. Johns County and St. Augustine, and Putnam County in Palatka. So we're not a big school, but we're spread pretty far. As far as what this area might be known for is being south of Jacksonville, and not much. I just moved here a year ago, so I'm just here to be near my 3 daughters and our new grandson, and we love it up here. I used to live in Polk County, and we love it.
Awesome. Whoever's next.
I'll go. I think I'm crashing this event. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, which is known for being in the middle of the Blue Ridge Parkway with the Great Smoky Mountains and the Biltmore House. And anything that has to do with how to recruit and retain more students in the community college is always of interest to me. And I teach in our computer technologies department.
Asheville. I was stationed in Cherry Point.
I also crashed. My name's Amanda Burney. I signed in under Bob because that's the only link I had. I work closely with Bob in Putnam County. I actually work at the district CTE office. My job title is CTE program specialist, but I work closely with our advanced manufacturing, welding, automotive programs, and Bob sent me the link so that I could join and hear these ideas. And we're known also for fishing in our area. We have the St. Johns River, lots of bass tournaments in our area.
Awesome. Who's next?
Bob is trying to talk, but we're not hearing you yet.
Hi, I'm Stacy Tenner, Florida A&M University Outreach Coordinator here in Tallahassee, capital of the state, not too far from you.
Yep. I know you, Stacy.
Yes.
What is Tallahassee known for?
Housing the #1 HBCU in the nation, Florida A&M University.
Okay.
It's a college town. Three top universities, yeah. 3 college towns. TCC, FSU, and FAMU.
Okay. And I think Bob is trying to, we can't hear you, sir.
You can probably just put it in the chat if we can't get the sound.
Yeah. A little bit more about me. I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps. And during that time, I was a recruiter in Long Island, New York from 2002 to 2004. So 1 year after September 11th. By the fiscal year 2004, I was recruiter of the year. And that was competing against guys in the city, right? So the guys in the city, more dense population, these guys, you know, they put 8 to 10 applicants in a month where I was doing 3, okay? The difference was what I outbeat them was quality, right? My applicants joined, they went to boot camp and they graduated. And I've kind of brought some of that with me into my recruiting strategy. So next slide. Okay, so originally I was going to do like this icebreaker and this fun Kahoots thing, but then I said, you know what, let's look at some numbers in the state as it stands. This is from the Chronicle of Education. In the academic year of 2021, 2022, there was 1 million students in Florida colleges, 1 million, right? And I always think of it this way. I live in Destin and we have one of the highest tourist populations, right? If I just had 1% of those people to give me $1, right, I'd be a millionaire, right? So 1 million students have enrolled into Florida colleges. I just want 1%. So how do I get that 1%? That's what I think of, okay? And the numbers split. 434,000 or 435,000 are male, 620,000 are female, or yeah, 620. So what does that tell me there? There are more females going to school than there are males. So who do I really need to target, right? Who do I need to really look for, right? Online students, 335,000 students online. Do you have an online program? Can you do some hybrid programs where students can work, right? So those are some of the things I think about when I'm looking at these numbers, okay? In 2021, 2022, the graduation rate of college was 62%. I had to ask myself, why? We're getting them into schools, 1 million students, but only 62 are graduating. So that tells me something else. There's not that piece after the fact. Once a student gets into your programs, they're missing something. There's something missing. We're going to talk about that as well. Okay, and we move over to 2021 to 2022. I got to move this out of my view. 500,000 applied to Florida colleges. Now, this is just the 4-year universities. I didn't go to the AS. 500,000 students applied to 4-year universities. And 300,000 of them were accepted, right? So where are those 200,000 students that did not get accepted to schools, right? There's that 1% of those students I want again, right? Okay, the acceptance rate of Florida is 73%. At community college level, you apply and you're in, right? As long as you have your transcripts and everything else matches, there's no acceptance, right? There's no, you got to have a GPA at most community colleges. And I'm not familiar with all of them, but I know at mine, you apply and you're in, right? And that's a repeat data. Next slide. So why are you recruiting, right? We looked at the numbers. To me, looking at that data tells me, one, there are students out there. There's 1 million students just in college, right? And a big portion of them are women, right? So why are you recruiting? Why? I chose wins and opportunities, right? The opportunities are because you need to get your enrollment up. I got to get my enrollment up. Or I got to get, we got to get that tuition. Or because we were told to, president says, hey, guess what, budget time, we got to get enrollment up. Our numbers are down, you start cutting your budgets and all these other things. Is that why you're recruiting? If that's why you're recruiting, that pressure that you're feeling is now being passed over to the students and everybody you're trying to recruit. They can feel that tension. So if that's why you're recruiting, we might want to think about redirecting some of your thoughts to some wins. Why does somebody want to go to college? At the end of the day, someone wants to go to college to change their life. So how do you do that, right? A lot of people are walking around, and I see it all the time. And we'll talk more about my involvement in the community. I talk to everybody, and I ask them, "Hey, do you know what programs are at Northwest Florida State College? You didn't know we had welding? Oh my God, we have the top welding program." Another win. Enhance their financial capabilities. A lot of your students that if you talk to them will tell you, I'm here because I need some more education in order to get that next promotion. Target right now is creating a pathway with their maintenance technicians to promote them internally. Now I'm trying to disrupt that a little bit and bring that into our college systems where, hey, look, we're already doing it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. We're doing it. Just take our stuff and that recruiting piece I'm helping. Another reason, because they need it, right? Some students just feel that it's a life-changing experience. So if you're not talking to them, they're not going to know it. I put on here, find a purpose. As a veteran, 22 veterans take their lives a day. And I did a study on this, and it's because they don't have a purpose. Once they get out of active duty service, they don't know what they're supposed to do, right? They get out and they say, hey, you know, I've got all these skills, all this experience, I should be able to land a job. And when they don't, they get lost. So I created some pathways here at the college to help some of those veterans come in and use their some experiences to get them some college credits, to get them a little bit, you know, a boost, and get them familiar with some of the civilian changeover. And also, the other win is the skills gap. We talk about the skills gap all the time. The disparity between, you know, the generation retiring and the generation coming in. So those are some wins and opportunities. What are some wins and opportunities you see with why you're recruiting? If anybody wants to talk.
Well, hey, Michael, this is Ernie. I mean, a lot of times we have more capacity, right, in our classrooms. The local industry may need people, and they, you know, they look through our colleges to find that kind of talent. There's a couple of reasons. Yep.
And we're going to cover some advisory board stuff here coming up. Okay, next slide. Okay, so who are you recruiting? I find that a lot of people, when they're recruiting, they're like, oh, you know what? I don't want to talk to that person, or, oh, you know, that person doesn't look the part. But how do you know, right? Military guys, they have a stigma, and I hear it all the time. Oh, those guys are direct, you know, we don't want to deal with those guys. But those guys come with a lot of skills, just being in service, okay? Then you got the person that doesn't quite look the part, right? I'm a Batman fan. This was the best Joker, in my opinion. Anybody wants to dispute that can. But, you know, I find that some people won't talk to certain people because of how they look. I talk to everybody. I don't care how they look. Even if they're not going to be a part of my program, they could be a part of someone else's program who has a brother, sister, aunt, uncle who was like, hey, you know what? I'm in that school, and it's just word of mouth, right? And then the age, right? So I would say, if you look at somebody and you say, oh my God, they look too old, they're not too old, right? They've got sons and daughters, they've got grandkids, they've got aunts, uncles, brothers, families, okay? 90% of my class is over 40 because, one, they have VA benefits and they want to get rid of them. Two, they're in a position and they want to change it, right? They have nothing else other to do. This is it. So they're going to school. So I talk to everybody. The other one is women, right? I really drew some more numbers from the Chronicles of Education, and in engineering, and this was last year, this data was pulled from last year, there was 192,000 or 193,000 people in engineering, okay? Total across the state of Florida. 6,367 of them are in an AS program, and only 16% were female or women, okay? You look at engineering tech, you know, another 15% were women. Now, if you jump over to education, I wanted to add this one because that's a huge one, right? Almost 90% are female in education, and only 20% in computer science. And I know we have a computer science teacher in here, Ms. Silvers, right? So as I'm looking at this again, and now you keep going down to the bachelor's degrees and the master's degrees, and you can see the numbers are a little skewed when it comes to women. My first thought looking at this number, I want to start recruiting females, and not only because there's a shortage of females in engineering, but because they are going to school and they're picking other programs other than engineering. So why aren't they joining engineering? Anybody know? Any suggestions, any ideas why?
Probably not told that it was an option.
Okay. So
one of the things is that, and this is partially that I've been working on a grant for it, but it isn't marketed well to them. They don't know it's a helping profession that's going to make a difference. They think it's boring.
Okay. So that's That's a disparity in which we know, how do we change that? How do we change that? They think it's boring, because we all know it's not boring, right? It's very lucrative. It's very profitable once students get in. So how do we change that, right? So we got to start looking at the females, right? I always say the best way is to look at an example, right? So when I'm at Target, and Target is a proponent of diversity and equality and inclusion, I ran into at least 4 females, and I said, I'm going to take a picture of you, and I'm going to email, and we're going to, because I want your picture in my classroom, and say, yes, this is why. So when I am out recruiting and I am out talking to people, I can say, yeah, there's girls. Look at this. She's 24 years old. She's at L5 at Target. She went through her community college, and this is a true statement. She went through a community college and got her manufacturing degree, and she's now making $70,000 a year in her 3rd year at Target. So I'm going to put something together, and I'm going to use that as a recruiting tool for the women that don't know and the girls that don't know. As I, do these presentations or I talk about it, I can show them, look, this young lady right here. Okay. Anybody else take anything from this?
I believe that they have been led to believe, women have been led to believe that they're not capable of becoming an engineer, or they're not wanted in the manufacturing industry. And that's totally an error. I've worked with some really great women in the industrial manufacturing area, and people don't realize that it's a viable career for women.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of women too see manufacturing the way it used to be when our parents were manufacturing. Dirty, it's very physical. And I think a lot of women are intimidated by that.
Very well could be.
Okay. And we know now today it really isn't. Right? I talked about what I do on a daily basis, and I'm bringing this back to the classroom. Everything that I do, and I'm like, I'm not getting my hands dirty, right? I'm in an AC, right? I go to the constructor's truck. There's no, it's not uncomfortable for me to work, right? It's not. I don't get my hands dirty unless I want to. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so when I first did the introduction, I was asking everybody, what is your area known for, right? Because that's where you want to start, right? If your area is known for fishing and the beach, that's where I'm going to go first, right? I'm going to go to where everybody wants to go first, right? Recruiting shouldn't just be when you have to recruit. Recruiting should be a 24/7 thing. When you go to the grocery store and that young man's bagging his groceries at Publix, say, what are you doing, right? Did you know that Publix pays 100% tuition for students that are working at Publix? They will pay for their college for the first 2 years. So I grab all those students. I go to their works. I go where I shop, and I talk to everybody. I'm a billboard for the college, right? Everybody, it doesn't matter. If I'm sitting down, hey, what you're waiting on my table. What are you doing? I teach at the college. What do you think, right? If you're recruiting, then you should be recruiting. Now, it shouldn't be a forced thing, because if you're forcing yourself, then they're going to feel it, okay? The shops, the restaurants, are you in your middle schools? Are you in your high schools? Are you in your elementary schools, right? I go to the elementary school. I reached out to all the teachers. Hey, what do you need from me? I can come in and I could do a workshop. I could be a substitute. And when they, yes, we need someone to monitor tests. Guess what I'm wearing? I'm wearing my logo Northwest Florida State College shirt, or at this point, Target, right? I spend a lot of time in the K-12 schools because they see me, and then they come to the college and they see me again, or they see me again when they get ready to graduate and they say, oh yeah, I remember seeing him, okay? Parents, where do they shop, right? Your biggest driver for students is going to be parents. Why? Because we're all parents, and we all know the important value of going to school. Students don't know what they don't know. My son, who's 22 years old, I spend constantly, son, no, this is, and it's a battle, right? They're not going to listen, but if you get to the parents will work that angle for you, okay? And then marketing, what kind of marketing are you doing? Now, I know that a lot of colleges budget for marketing. But there is some free marketing out there that it costs you nothing but some time, okay? And that's the social media part that we're talking about. Snapchat, okay? Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. If you're not posting on those things, now I don't recommend Snapchat. Snapchat's a little, It's a little awkward app to use. But if you can get into that Snapchat, right, and you start creating your profile, and we're going to talk, and the next slide is going to explain some stuff. That's what these kids are using. I've sat and I tried to record my son. He will get on his phone and he'll scroll. And if something catches his eye, he'll stop. He'll give it 2 to 3 seconds to play. If it's not good, he's gone, right? And he's already moving to the next thing. If it catches his eye, he will watch it from front to back. So you've got like a really small window to capture them on social media, that TikTok, right? They are attracted to that entertainment piece. The Twitter and the Instagram, it's that instant gratification, right? But if you can provide that instant hashtag, all right. Has anybody had any issues with social media or successes or like, I'm not familiar with it? Or even tried it? No. Okay, next slide. All right. Okay, the reason I love this when I'm talking about social media, because Jimmy Fallon and a few of those night host shows, if you watch them, they do the hashtag, right? Mean tweets, right? It's a thing that people actually watch. And if you hashtag it properly, you'll get more traction, okay? So I wanted to do 4 posts. I pulled 4 posts from my LinkedIn, okay? The first one, I only did 2 hashtags. And this one's kind of a big deal that I posted, but I knew I was doing this presentation. And I said, you know what, let me just do 2 hashtags. And after this presentation, I'm gonna go hashtag it up, right? To get some traction. This was a nomination that I received recently that I'm still over the moon for, but I intentionally did this and I only got 539 impressions. Now, if you use LinkedIn, you can click that view and you can see who's looking at it, from what companies and what locations. There's an analytics, a whole, and that's free. I don't pay for the premium subscription, right? So these other 3 posts, I did 4 hashtags and I did an @. What an @ means is I tag somebody. I tag Target at the very top in blue, visit Target, right? And then I tag my partner. Well, that blew up to almost 3,000 impressions, okay? On the next one, I did 5 hashtags and I tagged 3 people. Now, if the people you're tagging aren't very big, you're not going to get a big impression. But as you can see, I hit Target, right? At FLATE, at manufacturing, at GSL. And you can see it there. I supply chain, at leadership, at culture, those big tag words that attract people. Okay. And on the final one, as my buddies, I did only @ and no hashtags, and we still got over 1,000 impressions. That means 1,000 people looked at this post, whether they either glanced at it or stopped for a second. It was enough to collect that data. So if you're doing your Instagrams and your Facebooks, even your Facebook, and I'm gonna tell you, your Facebook, your students use Facebook to connect with their parents. That's the only reason they have it, is because Dad, only don't have Facebook so I can, keep, otherwise I use Snapchat, right? So they still use it, but if you hashtag everything properly, then it'll have more impact. Does anybody have any comments on that, or any add-ins that they know about social media that I don't know about? I know I hashtag and I get the impressions. I do it on Facebook, I do it on LinkedIn, and I get the traction. Anybody have any insight?
I would agree with that. And I would say also sharing other people's content grabs in their viewers.
Yes, if you share it and it gives you that option to post or repost or say something, hashtag it. Hashtag manufacturing, hashtag FLATE, hashtag all the things, and it'll gain that traction. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now that you have them, you've got them, right? You've got your students, you've got your pool. How do you keep them? Retention to completion. We saw that only 62% graduate, right? Do you take your students on tours? I'll give you an example. I took a group of my students. We went on a tour to Crane Industries, and I said, write your resumes. write your resumes. I gave them all little brief interviews before we got there. We got there, all 4 of them got interviewed. A student got hired last year. He is now the lead engineer and he has a team of 6. In the spring semester of last year, just doing tours and taking my students through all the different companies that we have here, 22 students are all working in industry and they still have their jobs. And they all started at like $22 to $25 an hour, if not more. So the tour visits are huge, right? The industry visits are huge. Apprenticeships, if you could get a company to do an apprenticeship, and that doesn't mean you have to go out there and do the work all yourself. You have your partners that help you, right? FLATE can help you. I have Northwest Florida Manufacturing Council that can help me. And if you don't have those resources, reach out to me. I can help you. What do you need? How can we get the ball rolling? Because apprenticeships and internships are another huge piece, right? If students can see that there's a pathway from start to completion and the reward and the light at the tunnel, they're more likely to stay the course, okay? The other thing I want you to think about is when you have your students, there's compassion piece. And I don't want to say a lot of teachers, but some teachers forget that their students are people. I'm in a current class right now. I'm taking my doctorate. I'm not going to name the school. But the teacher has no compassion of what I am dealing with and how much stuff, I'm getting through it and I'm fine, but she lost that compassion piece with me. So now I already feel disconnected from her. And I've already thought about leaving the school just because of this one professor just, knocking me off, right? And also be empathetic, right? Life happens. Your students are going to deal with all kinds of things in life. If you can just say, yep, I understand. How can we get past, yeah, you had some due dates, the ones that are going to be, taking advantage of it. And you could pull those guys to the side and girls to the side, but be empathetic to the situation. And do you know who your students are? Now, I don't know the number of students you may have. In my department, we get about 50 students, and that's a manageable number for me, to not including collegiate students. We're 24 of those students, and then we have our iDesign, which are 40 students. But I know all those students, not on a personal level, but on a professional level. Like, I know what student needs a little extra work, and that's just creating a relationship with them. Yes, it takes time, but at the end result is your students will stay with you because they want to be around you. They want to just take your classes, okay? Some students have multiple jobs. I had a young lady, she would work 3 jobs, and it was time for class, she would cut down to 2. And then she would, between breaks, she would pick up 3. That's very different. And she was a single parent. So how do I cater to her needs? I need her to graduate, right? I need her to be successful. At the end of the day, I want to go and see her, make all kinds of money, but how do I get her across that finish line? I'm compassionate, empathetic to her needs. They all have real issues just like we do, okay? Next slide. Okay, so how do you be successful? Anybody seen this movie? If you're this guy, right? Always be closing, sales. Glenn Ross, if you've never seen that movie, really good sales movie. Does your community know you? Who in your community knows you? I personally cannot go to Walmart. I can't go to Walmart because there's at least 3 or 4 people that know me in there, that grab me and Michael and want to talk to me and just want to talk. And then I'm an hour later, my wife's be like, dude, we can't go to Walmart. I go to Target now. But I go under the guys, I got my hat on, and I'm kind of quiet and low key because I've injected myself in the community so much that everybody recognizes me, okay? Is your advisory board working for you? They want your students because they want that track, but what are they doing for you, right? Are they recruiting for you? Are they promoting it, saying, hey, we hired this student, and put it on their social media? Then you can grab it and repost that. Like I said before, students with a pathway to a career are likely to join your programs. If they know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and there's a career, they will stay. Again, it won't happen overnight. It takes time. Next slide. All right, so servant leadership. What did I mean by this one? I am a servant to my community. This weekend, I'm doing the Shrimp and Grits Festival for the boys and girls. The weekend after that, I'm a judge for the Mac and Cheese Festival for the boys and girls. Last year, me and my wife, we did the Bourbons, Burgers, and Beer Festival for the boys and girls. We volunteered. I'm doing all this volunteer, right? I am putting myself in the community. As people walk by these booths, I'm like, hey, my name is so-and-so, here's my card. I have business cards, and you can't see them at that table. I had cards. Here you go. You ever think about college? Why not? Here you go. Adults. That's bourbon. They call it a peach smash. It was really good. So it was even more better because they were loose. They were talking, right? So when I'm doing the mac and cheese fest and I'm walking around and I'm wearing, my Target shirt or my Northwest shirt, okay? Even though these take time, I am still doing things with my family that's absolutely fun, right? And it takes nothing but time. What about chambers of commerce? Do you have a name? Do you have a block at Chamber of Commerce? When I first started teaching, I went to Chamber of Commerce and said, hey, do you want to be a part of school? No, I want Michael Emigh, educator, as a, when parents and brand new people come in and they go to Chamber of Commerce and grab that book and they say, oh, this guy put his stuff in there, right? It's just those little things. The EDC, Economic Development Councils, they have industry days. I attend the industry days. I talk to everybody industry. Why aren't you on my advisory board? Okay. STEM, summer camps. If you're not doing summer camps, you need to, right? There are some grants out there to do free summer camps. We did two summer camps, and the result of that is we had 9 students sign up from the summer camps. Are you talking to your veterans? They may not want to go to school, but they know everybody. I lived in 5 different states and I traveled to 30 different countries. I know a lot of people as a vet. So I connect with all the vets because they say, hey, you know what? There's that program at the college, all the temples, the Elk Lodges, the Masons, all these companies and organizations are doing things in the community. Imagine if you can multiply your efforts with their efforts. Huge results. Anybody have any input? Any comments, suggestions? Nothing. Next slide. Well, there we go. Any questions? Any comments, feedback, insight? And I actually took this picture in Chicago. My wife said it looks like a textbook picture, like an economics textbook picture.
Hey, Michael, this is Ernie. Do you think would you have a different strategy, say, for a rural area versus, like a larger community, a city?
Absolutely. So in a rural, more dense populated area, I would be at the Boys and Girls Club. I would be at where they go after school activities, the martial arts, where are these kids going? Are they going home? Then I need to be in the schools. I need to be in the middle schools and the high schools. They need to see me as a face, right? And even if it's, and I don't see a high school telling you, no, you can't come in if you didn't create that relationship with your schools prior to. I think I had an advantage on that end because I was a high school teacher and then I was a part of the K-12 system. Now that I could just walk into the schools and they're like, hey, Michael, go do whatever you need to do. But that was still time and effort to create those relationships in order to do that. So I would be personally in the schools. If not anything, just sitting in the library as just an information. I'm a kiosk right now, branded with my college. Kids are going to naturally come want to talk to you. And if you've got doodads and swag and, even pencils, they will come get a pencil. They will come get stickers. They will come get a piece of candy and talk to you. But you never know, talking to that one student will make a difference. And that one student could be what I call your key man. That student then goes and starts saying, well, this college, well, you need to go here. I'm going here. I had one student last year and one of the, not quite rural schools, but, Title I, and she would make her way to be my lab tech. I gave her all the shirts I can give her. I gave her all the book bags, everything. Wear this in school. You are my walking billboard right now. So I would just be more in the schools, more involved, helping those teachers. Because if it's a rural area, I guarantee those teachers need help. If not with just classroom management, but with some of the projects they want to do, right? Teachers have a lot of ideas and projects they want to do, but if they're inundated with too much work and emails, they never get those across. But if they have someone that they can rely on and say, hey, can you help with this part and I help with that part, you can connect those dots and be in the schools and just be a face. Any other questions? We got about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I just have a comment for you, Michael. I can see why you have been nominated to the FLATE Awards. Just your comment regarding about how to support your students, how to retain them. Once you recruit them, it's hard to retain them and help them to graduate. And I'm 100% with you when the teacher or the faculty he feels empathy for the students and try to provide ways to help him finish. Because sometimes they can feel lost. Sometimes they don't know the way out with so much overwhelming situation, working, full time and studying, and kids, who knows. But then it's not about the academic program, it's about who is teaching.
Yes.
So maybe when another strategy for the colleges is to really hire someone passionate and that has those skills, not only that knows about the topic, that has the full array of skills to be a teacher and a mentor. Because at the end they stay because of the teacher. Like you just said, you're about to quit because of the teacher.
Yes. And here's a statement I always make when I was hiring faculty and adjuncts. I said, what type of teacher do you want to be? Do you want to be a dictator or a mentor? Because I don't want dictators. Dictators run students off. Mentors keep students. So if you're going to be that person that, stands on your soapbox and this is it, then no, I can't. Another thing I do, and this may be, some people don't have this kind of time, and I find it is, when I'm in class, I'll take time out. What program are you in? What study are you taking? You're in my class. What are you taking? Oh, I'm taking this. Okay, open up your degree works. Let me look at your degree plan. Why are you taking those classes? This is way off, right? So I pulled degree, and I've actually pulled students, and we've done some one-on-one. Nope, take this class here, take this class, here's a schedule. This is when you're going to take this in the fall. Here's your plan for the next 2 years, right? Here's you a copy and here's me a copy. That way, we only do it once, and if they ever lose that copy, okay, here's a copy again, right? Because life happens. You don't know. They're kids. They're irresponsible. My son will tell you, I am so lazy. He's motivated on certain things. He's a bodybuilder, so he's motivated on that piece. But he will tell you, I am lazy. I did his degree plan for his business, and he's lost that paper 10 times. But you know what? Here you go, son. I got it right here. It's just time, right? Eventually, I hope it clicks and he goes, I need to keep it or do something electronically. But I spend that extra time with students just to give them that, you know what? I got you. You're gonna make it. This is what you got to do, right? The students that are struggling a little bit, I am always checking grades. If I'm given a C, why are you getting a C? What are you? Let's talk about it. I give them that feedback, and I give them the opportunity to do better, right? Because at the end of the day, we're here to teach them and pass on our knowledge. If we're not doing that, then what are they getting? And they can get bored. So
that's great that you do that, because I come from advising originally, and it's amazing how many students just take classes. They're in the AA as well as the engineering technology, and so they can take a foreign language if they want to, and they don't realize how it's getting them off course.
I had a student that had a year's worth of unnecessary classes because advising said, oh no, keep taking this. Oh no, keep taking that. She was mad, but I said, time is gone. Let's move forward now, right? So you got to be a mentor, you got to be a parent, and I know some of us don't like doing that, but for me, when I see them in the community, it's a good dad moment. Yeah, look at my student killing it right now. So it's a internal thing for me.
Michael, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ernest.
I was gonna say real quick, I spent 25 years at a state college and visited a lot of high schools to recruit. And what I found was, if I visited the high school once, I didn't get much of a response. But sometimes it took 2 or 3 visits for some of the students to really feel comfortable to, get with me and ask more questions. So I bring that up because sometimes we think, well, I went to that high school this year and it didn't pan out. Sometimes you have to make repeated, sustained visits before the students really feel comfortable about asking you questions. And not just the students, I mean, the parents as well. If you're visiting the PTAs, they may not ask questions first. They may soak in what you're saying, do a little research, and then want to come back and talk with you later.
Yep. What do they say? 3 weeks to be a habit. So the more they see you, the more who is this guy? Who is that person? We keep seeing the same person. They're gonna be inquisitive and ask. So and you can generate that dialogue there. So Would you have Stacy?
Thanks, Mike. Good to see you again. But I was saying, you're saying being a community, not just you, but also the faculty as well, or the instructors. Do you push that for them to do as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, if it's not a one-man fight, right? For recruiting, it takes all of us, right? And we know what happens if enrollment goes down, right? And your numbers go down, your faculty, we don't want to say it, but you know, right?
Yeah.
And I never use that, but I say be the mayor of your town. If your town doesn't know who you are, there's something wrong. You are an educator at a college. Like that's huge for me. Like, wow, you teach at a college? That's a huge, huge deal. So I use that passion to say, yeah, we got to recruit, right? That's what's keeping us alive. If we don't have students, we don't have classrooms. We don't have classrooms, and why does the college exist? So everybody should be taking part and participating into recruiting. If you work at a college, you should be saying you should have a hat or a shirt or something that you wear. And I mean, I know some of the shirts aren't the best quality, but you know, you do what you can.
Thank you.
So like that FAMU cup I have from you, I still got it. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Great.
Yep. So it's the little things that can go a long way.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, this is Ernie again. Just wanted to mention, sort of the theme for FLATE's professional development, for the most part, is connecting with students. So we, like I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, lots of resources out there. We have a lot of professional developments we've already done. There's some coming up, but most of them kind of center around recruiting. And we got that list of professional developments from faculty. So I was just curious, while we have a few people on this call, we do have some money. We put some money in to do some more of these type of things next year. So if there are some ideas you have, or some things that either you want to present, or some ideas that maybe you'd like to see, please put them in the chat, and we can add those to the potential list of professional developments for next year.
Awesome.
So we still have a few minutes. What do we? Any more questions?
I have another question.
Go ahead.
How do you go about winning over parents who want their kids to get bachelor's degrees in English or something? They don't really want them to get, they call it a real job, but they don't realize that a 2-year AS degree in engineering oftentimes earns more.
So do a career comparison, right? So if a student gets his English degree, what are the job opportunities, right? Where can they go? They can become teachers, right? You can pull that data piece. I run into students all the time. I got my bachelor's in psychology. I'm like, that's great. So
I get that all the time.
Are you going to be a master's? Yeah, right. So they're inundated. Are you going to get your master's and specialize? Why not, right? Because now you're limited to child protective services and those kind of things. So I would then take parents that data. Okay, so you want your student to be English. What are your plans for your student, right? What are your plans for your child? And usually that's how I start that conversation. What are your plans for your child, right? Because the parents are the biggest influence on what the child's going to do. An example, my son's getting his degree in business because that's what I did initially, right? It's natural. But I would give him that data, like, where are they going to go? Vice and engineering. He goes, oh, here's all the jobs under engineering, technology, and those fields. And this is the pay. So there's a big, huge pay between, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to mention one of the things that we found really successful was we went to the high school in our area, the high school basketball games. They do 4 of them in one night. They do junior varsity boys, junior varsity girls, varsity boys, varsity girls. And with the high school, they let us set up like a room outside and they announced it. But we had snacks and things for parents to tell them about our programs and it was really our engineering and our IT programs. But we went to where the parents were and talk
Mhm.
to them, because it's really getting parents to come to your school for an event or getting a time that you can talk to parents is hard. But having it at, because a lot of locally we're more rural and a lot of people go to the Friday night basketball games. And so it was a good place to reach the parents to share the message.
And see what I would do after that. Once you've created that initial connection, I would say, hey, follow me on my Facebook where I do updates about what we're doing, and then you would then have to be very proactive on your Facebook. I mean, a daily post, hey, today, and if you've never had a Facebook post, right now you have a lot of things you could talk about. You can go, hey, look at this robot we've got, or this skills bot, or this equipment we have, or these computers, or you've got a lot of content if you don't have a Facebook. But once you've got those parents' attention, and then you bring them, oh, hey, join my Facebook, and you can see what we're doing on a daily basis, and see where my students are going, and see the success stories, and see the activities that we're doing, then they can see it. Because I'm on Facebook all the time. I don't know about you guys, but when I have a moment, I'm like, yep, there's a notification. Facebook. I'm not a Snapchatter. Not going to happen, but I will be on Facebook, right? So, and maybe that comes with the age, right? I'm 45, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then, that another idea too, to sort of combat parents who don't want their students to maybe go to get a 2-year degree after they graduate high school is, and actually the very last PD that we're having on this subject, the last one we're having is on this subject. But if you create to get around that, because every parent thinks their students are going to Harvard, right? That's not the case. As we know, most never will. Most students who say they're going to college after high school probably won't. But so we created a program for both IT and manufacturing where students got either a full AS degree or a college credit certificate while they were still in 11th and 12th grade. Now, the advantage to that is that frees the student up if they want to do something totally different after graduation, they can, but they've got a nice either certificate or a degree and can get a great job the day they graduate high school. So, it takes a little while to create those. But like I said, if you're interested, the very last, I think it's in end of April or May, but it's the last PD that we're having is about how to create dual enrollment in early college programs. So you may want to tune in for that one.
Northwest Florida, the fall of last year, started our AS collegiate program. We had a collegiate high school. They would complete with their AA. So the fall, we started our first cohort, 9th graders, and they're getting their AS in either engineering tech or cybersecurity. So that did start. And that was through a grant that we got. So there are grants out for that, for the dual enrollment piece.
Yeah, Michael, thanks again, man. We're going to have to wrap this up, but thanks again. It was great information. Thanks for everybody attending. Certainly, if you have more questions, I think Michael's contact info that we have at the beginning, we could put it in the chat. But if you,
I will be emailing all of the attendees and registrants with the recording and the presentation, you can ask for a certificate of attendance if you didn't have my email address on there, and I can include Michael's contact information.
Please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, again, on behalf of FLATE and FLATE team, we thank everybody for attending and certainly thank Michael for presenting to us today. Hope everybody has a great day, and we look forward to seeing you on the upcoming professional development series. Take care.